Emma Rodriguez was walking out of Denver General Hospital after her 12-hour shift when she first saw him. It was a warm Tuesday evening in March 2023. She was tired and ready to go home when a tall man in a nice suit bumped into her near the parking lot. He quickly apologized and helped her pick up the papers that had fallen from her bag. "I am so sorry about that," he said with a warm smile. "Let me buy you coffee to make up for being so clumsy." Emma looked at him carefully. He was handsome with dark hair and kind eyes. He wore expensive clothes and seemed genuinely sorry about the accident. She was usually careful about talking to strangers, but something about him felt safe. "That's okay," Emma said. "These things happen." "Please, I insist," he said. "There's a nice coffee shop right across the street. Just 5 minutes to make sure you're all right." Emma thought about it for a moment. She had been working so much lately that she barely had time to meet new people. Her friend Lisa was always telling her to get out more and try dating again. Maybe this was a sign. "All right," she said, "but just for a few minutes." The man smiled, brightly. "Great. I'm Jackie Williams, by the way." "Emma Rodriguez," she replied as they walked toward the coffee shop. Jackie held the door open for her and insisted on paying for her drink. He chose a quiet table by the window and asked her about her work at the hospital. Emma found herself talking more than usual. Jackie seemed really interested in what she had to say. He asked good questions and listened carefully to her answers. "Being a nurse must be really hard work," Jackie said. "I bet you help so many people every day." "I try to," Emma said. "Some days are better than others, but I love helping people feel better." Jackie nodded. "That's amazing. You must be really strong to handle all that stress." Emma felt herself blushing. It had been a long time since someone had shown such genuine interest in her work. Her last boyfriend had always complained about her long hours and never wanted to hear about her day. They talked for almost 2 hours. Jackie told her he worked in business and traveled a lot for work. He seemed successful, but not in a show-off way. When Emma mentioned that she lived alone, Jackie asked if she felt safe walking to her car at night after work. "I'm usually pretty careful," Emma said. "The hospital has security, and I park under the lights." "Still," Jackie said, "a woman like you should never have to worry about being safe. If you ever need someone to walk with you or just want company, please call me." He wrote his phone number on a napkin and gave it to her. Emma felt her heart beat a little faster. It had been months since she had felt this kind of connection with anyone. "I should probably get going," Emma said, looking at her watch. "I have to work early tomorrow." "Of course," Jackie said, standing up quickly. "Let me walk you to your car." They walked slowly across the parking lot. When they reached Emma's car, Jackie waited until she was safely inside before saying goodnight. He didn't try to hug her or ask for a kiss. He just smiled and said he hoped to see her again soon. Emma drove home thinking about Jackie. He seemed different from other men she had dated. He was polite and respectful. He didn't seem to be trying too hard to impress her. She found herself hoping he would call soon. Jackie called the next evening while Emma was making dinner. They talked for over an hour about everything and nothing. He asked about her day and remembered details from their conversation the night before. When Emma mentioned that she was cooking pasta, Jackie laughed and said he was eating the same thing. "We must be meant to be," he joked, and Emma laughed too. They started talking on the phone every night. Jackie would call right around the time Emma got home from work. He always wanted to know about her day and seemed to care about even the small details. When Emma had a difficult patient or a hard shift, Jackie would listen and offer support. After a week of phone calls, Jackie asked Emma out on a proper date. He wanted to take her to a nice restaurant downtown. Emma said yes immediately. She spent an hour getting ready, changing her outfit 3 times before settling on a simple black dress. Jackie picked her up in a beautiful black car that looked expensive. He came to her door with flowers and told her she looked beautiful. During dinner, he was the perfect gentleman. He pulled out her chair, ordered wine, and kept the conversation interesting. "Tell me about your family," Jackie said over dessert. Emma told him about her parents and her younger brother. Her father had been a police officer before he retired. Her mother worked as a teacher. They lived about an hour away, and Emma tried to visit them every few weeks. "They sound like good people," Jackie said. "I would love to meet them sometime." Emma felt surprised by how forward he was being, but in a good way. Most men she dated seemed afraid of meeting her family. Jackie seemed confident and sure about what he wanted. "What about your family?" Emma asked. Jackie's smile faded slightly. "It's just me now," he said quietly. "My parents died in a car accident a few years ago. I don't have any brothers or sisters." Emma reached across the table and touched his hand. "I'm so sorry, Jackie, that must have been terrible." "It was," Jackie said, squeezing her hand gently. "But meeting you has made me feel hopeful again, like maybe I can be happy again." Emma felt her heart melt. She could see pain in his eyes when he talked about his family. It made her want to take care of him and make him feel better. After dinner, Jackie drove Emma home. He walked her to her door but didn't try to come inside. He kissed her gently on the cheek and said he had a wonderful time. "Can I see you again this weekend?" he asked. "I would like that," Emma said softly. Over the next few weeks, Jackie and Emma saw each other almost every day. He would bring her lunch at work or pick her up after her shifts. He always seemed to know exactly what she needed. When Emma had a bad day, he would show up with her favorite ice cream. When she mentioned being tired, he would offer to cook dinner for her. Emma's co-workers started noticing the change in her. She smiled more and seemed happier. Her friend Lisa was excited to hear about the new man in Emma's life. "He sounds almost too good to be true," Lisa said during one of their phone calls. "I know," Emma laughed. "I keep waiting for something to go wrong, but he just keeps being amazing." Jackie was generous with his money and his time. He took Emma to expensive restaurants and bought her thoughtful gifts. When Emma admired a necklace in a store window, Jackie surprised her with it the next day. When she mentioned wanting to see a particular movie, he bought tickets for that same evening. "You don't have to spend so much money on me," Emma told him one evening. "I want to," Jackie said, pulling her close. "You deserve to be treated like a queen. I have been waiting my whole life for someone like you." Emma felt like she was living in a fairy tale. Jackie seemed to understand her better than anyone ever had. He remembered everything she told him and seemed to anticipate her needs before she even knew what they were. 2 months into their relationship, Jackie started spending most nights at Emma's apartment. He had clothes in her closet and a toothbrush in her bathroom. Emma loved waking up next to him and having someone to talk to at the end of long days. Everything about their relationship felt perfect, and Emma began to believe that she had finally found her happily ever after. 2 months after Emma and Jackie started dating, things began to change in ways that Emma did not notice at first. The changes were small and happened slowly, like a shadow growing longer as the sun moved across the sky. It started with Jackie asking more questions about Emma's daily routine. He wanted to know what time she left for work, which route she took to the hospital, and when her breaks were scheduled. At first, Emma thought he was just being caring and wanted to coordinate their schedules better. "I just want to make sure I know where you are," Jackie would say when Emma asked why he needed so many details. "I worry about you driving alone at night." Emma found this sweet at first. No one had ever cared enough to worry about her safety in such detail. But then Jackie started showing up at places where Emma had not invited him. One Tuesday morning, Emma walked out of the grocery store near her apartment and found Jackie waiting by her car. She had not told him she was going shopping, and he lived on the other side of town. "Jackie, what are you doing here?" Emma asked, surprised but trying to smile. "I was in the neighborhood for a work meeting," he said easily. "I saw your car and thought I would wait to say hello. Let me help you with those bags." Emma let him help her load the groceries into her car, but something felt strange about the situation. She had not mentioned going to this particular store, and Jackie seemed to know exactly where to find her. At work, Emma's co-workers started noticing changes too. Janet Miller, her supervisor, saw that Emma seemed more tired and distracted during her shifts. Emma used to be cheerful with patients and chatty with other nurses, but now she seemed worried about something. "Is everything okay at home?" Janet asked Emma one afternoon during their break. Everything is fine, Emma said quickly. Jackie is wonderful. I'm just tired from working so many shifts. But Janet noticed that Emma checked her phone constantly throughout the day. Every time it rang or buzzed with a text message, Emma would jump slightly and rush to answer it. She never used to be so attached to her phone during work hours. Emma's best friend Lisa Thompson was also starting to feel concerned. Emma had canceled their last 3 coffee dates, always saying that Jackie had planned something special or needed her help with something important. When Lisa finally convinced Emma to meet her for lunch on a Saturday afternoon, she was shocked by what she saw. Emma had always been slim, but now she looked much thinner. There were dark circles under her eyes, and her hands shook slightly when she picked up her coffee cup. Emma, you look exhausted, Lisa said gently. Are you getting enough sleep? I'm fine, Emma said, not meeting Lisa's eyes. Jackie and I stay up late talking sometimes. You know how it is when you're in love. Lisa tried to ask more questions about Jackie, but Emma became uncomfortable whenever the conversation turned to her boyfriend. She would change the subject, or make excuses to leave early. I should get going, Emma said after only 30 minutes. Jackie is picking me up soon, and I don't want to keep him waiting. Lisa watched through the window as Jackie arrived to collect Emma. He did not get out of the car or wave hello to Lisa. Instead, he sat in the driver's seat and seemed to be watching Emma closely as she walked toward him. Lisa noticed that Emma hurried to the car and got in quickly, as if she was nervous about being late. At Emma's apartment building, her neighbor Mrs. Patricia Johnson was becoming increasingly worried about the sounds coming from next door. Mrs. Johnson was 73 years old and had lived in the building for 15 years. She knew Emma as a quiet, polite young woman who rarely caused any disturbance. But over the past month, Mrs. Johnson had been hearing raised voices from Emma's apartment several times a week. The arguments usually happened late at night, around 10 or 11 o'clock. Mrs. Johnson could hear a man's voice that sounded angry and demanding, though she could not make out the specific words. One night, the argument was particularly loud. Mrs. Johnson heard Emma's voice saying please and stop several times. She heard the sound of something falling or being knocked over. Mrs. Johnson put on her robe and went to her front door, thinking about knocking to check if Emma was all right. But then everything went quiet, and Mrs. Johnson lost her nerve. She told herself that young couples sometimes argued loudly, and it was not her place to interfere. Still, she lay awake for hours afterward, listening for any more sounds from next door. The next morning, Mrs. Johnson saw Emma leaving for work. Emma was wearing sunglasses even though it was a cloudy day, and she kept her head down as she walked to her car. Mrs. Johnson wanted to say something but did not know what to say. At the hospital, Emma's behavior was becoming more noticeable to everyone around her. Mike Davis, the security guard who worked the evening shift, saw Emma's boyfriend waiting in the parking lot multiple times. The man would sit in his car near the employee entrance, watching people come and go. Mike approached the car one evening to ask if the man needed help with anything. The man said he was waiting for his girlfriend and would leave soon. But Mike noticed that he seemed nervous and drove away quickly as soon as Mike started asking questions. That guy gives me the creeps, Mike told Janet Miller the next day. He's been hanging around the parking lot watching people. I think he might be Emma's boyfriend. Janet decided to talk to Emma about the situation. She called Emma into her office during a quiet moment on their shift. Emma, some of the staff, have noticed a man waiting in the parking lot several times this week, Janet said carefully. Is everything all right with your personal life? Emma's face went pale. What man? She asked, though her voice suggested she already knew. Mike says it's someone claiming to wait for his girlfriend. We just want to make sure our employees feel safe coming and going from work. It's probably just Jackie, Emma said quietly. Sometimes he picks me up from work. He's just being protective. But Janet could see fear in Emma's eyes. Emma was gripping her hands together tightly, and she kept glancing toward the window as if she was worried someone might be watching. Emma, if you ever need to talk about anything or need any kind of help, you know you can come to me, right? Janet said. Emma nodded but did not say anything else. She left Janet's office quickly and avoided making eye contact with her supervisor for the rest of the shift. That same week, Emma missed 2 days of work without calling in advance. This was completely unlike her usual behavior. Emma had perfect attendance and always called if she was sick or needed time off. When she returned to work, she had a small bruise on her arm that she tried to hide under long sleeves. Her co-workers pretended not to notice, but everyone was starting to worry. About Emma, she seemed jumpy and scared. She ate lunch alone instead of sitting with the other nurses like she used to do. When her phone rang, she would answer it immediately and speak in a very quiet voice, as if she was afraid someone might overhear her conversation. Lisa tried calling Emma several times, but Emma rarely answered her phone anymore. When she did answer, the conversations were short and awkward. Emma would say she was busy or that Jackie needed her help with something. "I miss talking to you," Lisa said during one of their brief phone calls. "It feels like I haven't really seen you in months." "I'm sorry," Emma said. "Things have just been really busy with work and with Jackie. He likes us to spend our free time together." Lisa wanted to ask more questions, but Emma hung up quickly after saying that Jackie was calling her from the other room. As the weeks passed, Emma became more and more isolated from everyone in her life except Jackie. She stopped making plans with friends or family. She rarely went anywhere without Jackie, and when she did, she seemed anxious to get back to him as quickly as possible. The happy, confident woman that Emma had been just a few months earlier was slowly disappearing. In her place was someone who seemed constantly worried and afraid, though she tried hard to hide it from everyone around her. But the people who cared about Emma were starting to notice that something was very wrong, even if they did not yet understand exactly what was happening. Emma Rodriguez had been feeling strange about Jackie for weeks, but she could not put her finger on exactly what was wrong. Little things did not add up, and she found herself lying awake at night thinking about conversations that seemed off. Somehow, it started when Emma decided to surprise Jackie at his office for lunch on a Wednesday afternoon. She had the day off from the hospital and thought it would be romantic to bring him his favorite sandwich from the deli near her apartment. Jackie had told her many times that he worked at a business consulting firm downtown called Mitchell and Associates. He said his office was on the 15th floor of a tall glass building on 5th Street. Emma had never been there before because Jackie always said he preferred to keep work and personal life separate. Emma took the bus downtown and found the building easily. It was impressive, just like Jackie had described. She rode the elevator to the 15th floor and walked into the reception area of Mitchell and Associates. "Hi," Emma said to the woman behind the desk. "I'm looking for Jackie Williams. I wanted to surprise him with lunch." The receptionist looked confused. "I'm sorry, but we don't have anyone here by that name. Are you sure you have the right company?" Emma felt her stomach drop. "He's about 6 feet tall, dark hair, works in business consulting. He's been here for about 2 years. The receptionist shook her head. "I've been working here for 3 years, and I know everyone in the company. There's definitely no Jackie Williams here. Maybe you have the wrong floor?" Emma checked every floor in the building, but no one had ever heard of Jackie Williams. She sat in the lobby for 20 minutes trying to understand what was happening. Had Jackie lied about where he worked? Why would he make up something like that? That evening, Emma confronted Jackie about the office visit. She tried to stay calm and give him a chance to explain. "I went to your office today to surprise you with lunch," Emma said. "But they said no one named Jackie Williams works there." Jackie's face changed for just a moment. Emma saw something flash in his eyes that she had never seen before. It looked like anger, but he quickly covered it with his usual charming smile. "Oh, honey, I should have told you," Jackie said smoothly. "I got transferred to a different location last month. I work at their branch office now across town. I didn't want to worry you with all the boring work details." Emma wanted to believe him, but something about his explanation felt wrong. Why would he not mention such a big change? And why did he look so angry for that split second before he answered, "Over"? The next few days, Emma found herself paying closer attention to Jackie's stories. She noticed that he often changed small details when he told the same story twice. The name of his college roommate was different from one telling to the next. The city where he grew up seemed to change depending on the conversation. Emma started, feeling scared, but she did not know why. Jackie was still kind to her most of the time. He still brought her flowers and took her to nice restaurants. But there were moments when she caught him looking at her in a way that made her feel uncomfortable, like he was studying her or planning something. The breaking point came on a Saturday morning when Emma decided to do some cleaning. She was organizing the closet in her bedroom when she found Jackie's wallet had fallen out of his jacket pocket. Emma was not trying to snoop, but the wallet had opened when it fell, and she could see several credit cards scattered inside. Emma picked up the wallet to put it back, but then she saw something that made her blood run cold. There were 3 different driver's licenses in the wallet, all with Jackie's photo but with different names. One said Jackson Mitchell, another said James Wilson, and the third said Jake Morrison. Emma's hands were shaking as she looked at the licenses more carefully. They were from different states and had different addresses. The Jackson Mitchell license showed an address in Phoenix, Arizona. The James Wilson one was from Portland, Oregon. All 3 looked real and official. Emma quickly put the wallet back, where she found it, but her mind was racing. Why did Jackie have 3 different identities? What kind of person carried fake identification? Emma realized that she might not know anything true about the man she had been dating for 3 months. That afternoon, Emma made an excuse to leave the apartment and went to the public library. She used the computer there to search for information about the names she had seen on the licenses. What she found made her feel sick to her stomach. Jackson Mitchell had been arrested in Phoenix 2 years ago for fraud and identity theft. The mugshot looked exactly like Jackie. James Wilson had been charged with domestic violence in Portland 18 months ago. The newspaper article included a photo that was definitely Jackie's face. Emma kept searching and found more disturbing information. There were restraining orders filed against both Jackson Mitchell and James Wilson by women who claimed they had been threatened and abused. One woman said that Jackson had stolen money from her bank account after convincing her to add him as an authorized user. Emma printed out everything she could find and stuffed the papers into her purse. She felt like she was going to throw up. The man she had been living with, the man she thought she loved, was a criminal who had hurt other women. When Emma got back to her apartment, Jackie was waiting for her in the living room. He seemed relaxed and happy, watching television like nothing was wrong. "Where did you go?" Jackie asked. "I was starting to worry about you." "Just ran some errands," Emma said, trying to keep her voice normal. But Jackie was looking at her more closely now. Emma could feel him watching her as she moved around the apartment. She tried to act normal, but her hands were still shaking, and she felt like he could see right through her. That night, Emma lay in bed next to Jackie, but she could not sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the mugshots and arrest records she had found online. She realized that she had been living with a stranger who had been lying to her about everything. Emma knew she had to get away from Jackie, but she was terrified of what he might do if he found out that she knew the truth about him. The other women had filed restraining orders, which meant Jackie had threatened them or hurt them when they tried to leave. The next morning, Emma called in sick to work and waited for Jackie to leave the apartment. As soon as he was gone, she called information and got the number for a private investigator. Her father had been a police officer, and Emma remembered him talking about private detectives who helped people in difficult situations. Emma called a detective named Tom Bradley who specialized in background investigations. She explained that she needed to know the truth about someone she was dating, and that she was afraid for her safety. "I can meet with you this afternoon," Tom Bradley said. "Bring any information you have, and I'll see what I can find out." Emma gathered the printed articles and photos she had collected. She also wrote down every detail she could remember about Jackie's stories, including the inconsistencies she had noticed. When Emma met with Tom Bradley that afternoon, she felt like she was taking the first step toward getting her life back. The private investigator listened carefully to everything she told him and looked at the evidence she had brought. "This man is definitely dangerous," Tom said after reviewing the materials. "You need to be very careful about how you handle this situation. Men like this can become violent when they feel cornered or exposed." Tom Bradley promised to do a complete investigation and get back to Emma within a few days. Emma went home that evening knowing that her relationship with Jackie was over, but not knowing how she was going to get away from him safely. She realized that the perfect boyfriend she thought she had found was actually a predator who had been hunting her from the very beginning. Everything he had told her was a lie, and she had no idea what he might be capable of doing when he discovered that she knew the truth. Tom Bradley called Emma on Thursday morning with news that made her feel both relieved and terrified at the same time. The private investigator had spent 3 days looking into Jacke's background, and what he found was worse than Emma had imagined. "Emma, you need to sit down for this," Tom said over the phone. "The man you know as Jacke Williams is actually Jackson Mitchell, and he has been using fake names to target women for the past 5 years. Tom explained that Jackson had a long criminal history in multiple states. He had been arrested for fraud, identity theft, stalking, and domestic violence. Most disturbing of all, Jackson seemed to follow the same pattern with every woman he targeted. He finds women who work in caring professions like nursing or teaching," Tom said. "He studies their social media accounts for weeks before making contact. Then he creates a fake identity that he thinks will appeal to them." Tom had found 4 other women who had been victims of Jackson's schemes. 2 of them had agreed to speak with the private investigator about their experiences. Their stories were almost identical to what Emma had been living through. He isolated them from their friends and family, Tom continued. He gained access to their bank accounts and stole money. When they tried to leave him, he became violent and threatening. One woman named Rachel Green from Phoenix had been hospitalized after Jackson attacked her when she discovered his real identity. Another woman, Maria Santos from Portland, had lost her life savings and had to move back in with her parents after Jackson disappeared with all her money. "Emma, this man is extremely dangerous," Tom said. "You need to get away from him immediately, but you have to be very careful about how you do it. He has threatened to kill women who tried to expose him." Emma felt her whole body go cold. She was sitting in her car outside the hospital during her lunch break, and she looked around the parking lot to make sure Jackson was not watching her. "What should I do?" Emma asked. "First, don't let him know that you suspect anything," Tom said. "Act normal when you're around him. Second, start making a plan to leave safely. Do you have somewhere you can go where he won't find you?" Emma thought about her options. She could go to her parents' house, but Jackson knew where they lived. She had told him so much about her family and her life. He knew about her work schedule, her friends, and all of her usual places. "I can help you make a safety plan," Tom said. "But Emma, you cannot wait too long. Men like this escalate quickly when they feel their control slipping." That evening, Emma tried to act normal around Jackson, but it was the hardest thing she had ever done. Every time he touched her or smiled at her, she wanted to run away screaming. She kept thinking about the other women he had hurt and wondering what he was planning to do to her. Jackson seemed to sense that something was different about Emma's behavior. He watched her more closely than usual and asked more questions about her day. When Emma's phone rang, Jackson wanted to know who was calling. When she got a text message, he asked what it said. "You seem distracted tonight," Jackson said while they were eating dinner. "Is everything okay at work?" "Everything is fine," Emma lied. "I'm just tired from working extra shifts." But Jackson kept staring at her like he was trying to figure out what she was thinking. Emma excused herself to use the bathroom and called Tom Bradley from her bedroom. "He knows something is wrong," Emma whispered into the phone. "I think he can tell that I'm acting different." "You need to leave tonight," Tom said urgently. "Pack a small bag when he's not looking and get out of there. Go to your parents' house and call the police." Emma hung up the phone and tried to think of a plan. She could hear Jackson washing dishes in the kitchen, but she knew he would notice if she started packing her clothes. She decided to wait until he fell asleep and then sneak out with just her purse and car keys. But when Emma came out of the bedroom, Jackson was standing in the hallway waiting for her. His expression was different from anything she had seen before. The charming smile was completely gone, and his eyes looked cold and angry. "Who were you talking to in there?" Jackson asked. "No one," Emma said. "I wasn't talking to anyone." "Don't lie to me, Emma," Jackson said, stepping closer to her. "I heard you whispering to someone on the phone." Emma felt panic rising in her chest. She tried to move toward the front door, but Jackson blocked her path. They stood facing each other in the narrow hallway, and Emma realized that Jackson was much bigger and stronger than she was. "I was just talking to my mom," Emma said, trying to keep her voice steady. "She called to check on me." Jackson pulled out his phone and showed Emma the screen. Your mother didn't call you tonight, Emma. I can see all your calls and text messages. So who are you really talking to? Emma's blood went cold. She had not known that Jackson was monitoring her phone. How long had he been watching her calls and messages? Did he know about Tom Bradley? Emma, I think you've been lying to me about a lot of things lately, Jackson said, his voice getting louder. I think you've been sneaking around behind my back. Emma tried to push past him to get to the door, but Jackson grabbed her arm tightly. His grip was so strong that Emma knew it would leave bruises. Let go of me, Emma said, trying to pull away. We need to talk, Jackson said, dragging Emma toward the living room. I think you know something that you're not supposed to know. Emma realized that this was the moment she had been dreading. Jackson had figured out that she knew the truth about him, and now she was trapped in her own apartment with a man who had hurt other women before. Please, Jackie, Emma said, still trying to use the name she knew him by. You're scaring me. My name isn't Jackie, Jackson said with a cruel smile. But I think you already know that, don't you, Emma? The next few hours would be the longest and most terrifying of Emma's life. Jackson forced her to sit on the couch while he went through her purse and found the papers she had printed at the library. He read every article about his arrests and crimes, getting angrier with each page. You've been very busy, haven't you, Emma? Jackson said. Digging around in my business, talking to private investigators. Emma tried to deny it, but Jackson had found Tom Bradley's business card in her wallet. There was no point in lying anymore. Those women deserved what happened to them, Jackson said coldly. They betrayed me just like you're betraying me now. Emma knew she was in serious danger. She could see in Jackson's eyes that he was capable of violence, and she was completely alone with him. Her neighbors were elderly and might not hear if she screamed for help. As the night wore on, Jackson became more and more agitated. He paced around the apartment, alternating between yelling at Emma and speaking to her in a sickeningly sweet voice like nothing was wrong. Emma knew that she might not survive until morning unless she found a way to escape or get help. But Jackson was watching her every move, and she was running out of time to save herself. Janet Miller knew something was seriously wrong when Emma did not show up for her Friday morning shift. Emma had never missed work without calling, and she was supposed to work a double shift that day. Janet tried calling Emma's phone several times, but it went straight to voicemail. By Friday afternoon, Janet was worried enough to drive to Emma's apartment building. She brought Mike Davis, the security guard, with her because she remembered his concerns about the strange man who had been watching the hospital parking lot. I have a bad feeling about this, Janet told Mike as they walked up to Emma's door. Emma would never just disappear without telling someone. Janet knocked on the apartment door, but there was no answer. She called Emma's name and knocked harder, but the apartment was completely silent. Janet tried the door handle and was shocked when it turned easily. The door was unlocked. Emma? Janet called as she pushed the door open. Are you home? It's Janet from work. The apartment was dark and felt empty. But something was very wrong with the scene inside. Furniture was knocked over in the living room. There were dark stains on the carpet that looked like they might be blood. Emma's purse was on the floor with its contents scattered around. Oh my God, Janet whispered. Mike, we need to call the police right now. Mike called 911 while Janet looked around the apartment without touching anything. In the bedroom, she found Emma's body lying next to the bed. Emma was not moving and did not respond when Janet called her name. The police arrived. Within 10 minutes, Detective Sarah Martinez was assigned to lead the investigation. She immediately secured the crime scene and called for the medical examiner and forensics team. When was the last time anyone saw the victim alive? Detective Martinez asked Janet. Wednesday, morning at the hospital, Janet said. She seemed nervous and scared lately. We were all worried about her boyfriend. He had been stalking her at work. Detective Martinez interviewed Mike Davis about the man he had seen watching the parking lot. Mike gave a detailed description of Jackson and his car. The detective also spoke with Mrs. Patricia Johnson, Emma's neighbor, who reported hearing a violent argument on Wednesday night around 11 o'clock. I heard the woman screaming for help, Mrs. Johnson said with tears in her eyes. Then there was a loud crash like something heavy fell down, and then everything went quiet. I should have called the police that night. I should have done something, Dr. William Foster, the medical examiner, determined that Emma had died from severe head trauma. Someone had hit her with a heavy object multiple times. The time of death was estimated to be between 10 p.m. and midnight on Wednesday night. This was a brutal attack, Dr. Foster told Detective Martinez. The victim fought back. There's skin under her fingernails and defensive wounds on her arms. The forensics team found several important pieces of evidence that the killer had missed when trying to clean up the scene. There were fingerprints on a lamp that had been used as a weapon. There was also blood evidence that had soaked through the carpet padding. Detective Martinez discovered Emma's laptop hidden under the bed. The computer contained emails with Tom Bradley, the private investigator, and all the research Emma had done about Jackson Mitchell's criminal history. The victim knew she was in danger, Detective Martinez told her partner. She was trying to get away from this guy, but he found out what she was doing. The detective immediately issued a warrant for Jackson Mitchell's arrest, but when police went to the address Emma had for him, the apartment was empty. Jackson had disappeared completely, taking everything with him. Detective Martinez contacted Tom Bradley, who provided crucial information about Jackson's methods and previous victims. Tom had been investigating Jackson for 3 days before Emma was killed and had detailed files about his criminal history. "This guy is a professional predator," Tom told Detective Martinez. "He targets vulnerable women and destroys their lives. Emma was trying to get away from him when he killed her." Tom Bradley gave the police contact information for Jackson's previous victims. Detective Martinez spoke with Rachel Green from Phoenix and Maria Santos from Portland. Both women confirmed that Jackson had threatened to kill them when they discovered his real identity. "He told me that if I ever betrayed him, I would disappear and no one would ever find my body," Rachel said during her phone interview. "When I tried to leave him, he broke my arm and said next time he would break my neck." The investigation revealed that Jackson had been living under the name Jacke Williams for about 6 months before meeting Emma. He had rented his apartment, using fake identification, and had opened bank accounts with stolen Social Security numbers. Bank records showed that Jackson had been systematically stealing money from Emma's savings account for weeks before her death. He had convinced her to add him to her account, then transferred small amounts to other accounts he controlled. He stole almost $8,000 from her, Detective Martinez discovered. He was probably getting ready to disappear and move on to his next victim. The detective also found that Jackson had been communicating with other women through dating websites while he was dating Emma. He had profiles under different names on multiple dating sites and was already starting relationships with 2 other women in nearby cities. Police traced Jackson's car to a remote area outside Denver where it had been found burned and abandoned. The fire had destroyed most of the evidence inside the car, but forensics experts were still able to recover some DNA samples and fingerprints. "He's trying to cover his tracks," Detective Martinez said. "But he left enough evidence behind that we can prove he killed Emma." The investigation took on new urgency when Detective Martinez realized that Jackson was probably already targeting new victims. She contacted police departments in surrounding states to warn them about Jackson's pattern of behavior. Within a week, police in Colorado, Arizona, Oregon, and New Mexico were all looking for Jackson Mitchell. His photo and description were distributed to law enforcement agencies across the western United States. Detective Martinez also worked with the FBI because Jackson had committed crimes across state lines. The federal agents helped track Jackson's use of credit cards and fake identification documents. "This guy has been doing this for years," FBI agent Robert Thompson told Detective Martinez. "We think he may have victims that we don't even know about yet." The investigation revealed that Jackson was much more dangerous than anyone had realized. He had been arrested multiple times but had always managed to get released on bail and then disappear before his court dates. "He's a ghost," Detective Martinez said. "He changes his name and moves to a new city every time things get too hot for him." But the detective was determined to catch Jackson before he could hurt anyone else. She worked 18-hour days following leads and coordinating with other law enforcement agencies. The break in the case came from an unexpected source. Mrs. Patricia Johnson, Emma's neighbor, remembered seeing Jackson's car parked on their street several times before Emma died. Mrs. Johnson had written down the license plate number because she thought the car looked suspicious. "I'm old, but I'm not stupid," Mrs. Johnson told Detective Martinez. When you live alone, you pay attention to things that don't belong. The license plate led police to the car rental company where Jackson had leased the vehicle under a false name. The rental agreement contained fingerprints and a credit card number that helped trace Jackson's movements. Detective Martinez now had enough evidence to prove that Jackson Mitchell had murdered Emma Rodriguez. But the challenge was finding him before he disappeared completely or hurt another innocent woman. 8 months after Emma Rodriguez was murdered, Jackson Mitchell was finally caught during what seemed like a routine traffic stop in Salem, Oregon. Officer Kevin Walsh pulled over a blue sedan for running a red light, not knowing that he was about to capture one of the most wanted men in the western United States. The driver showed Officer Walsh a license that said his name was John Matthews, but something about the man seemed nervous and suspicious. When Officer Walsh ran the license through his computer, it came back as stolen. The real John Matthews was an elderly man from California who had reported his wallet missing 6 months earlier. "Step out of the vehicle, sir," Officer Walsh said, his hand moving toward his weapon. Jackson tried to run, but Officer Walsh was faster. Within minutes, backup officers arrived and Jackson was in handcuffs. When they searched his car, police found multiple fake identification documents, credit cards in different names, and a detailed notebook containing information about 3 women in the Salem area. This guy was getting ready to start hunting, again, Detective Martinez said when she flew to Oregon to interview Jackson. "We probably saved some lives by catching him when we did." Jackson had been living in Salem for 2 months under the name John Matthews. He had an apartment, a job at a furniture store, and was already dating a woman named Jennifer Clark who worked as a teacher at the local elementary school. Jennifer was shocked when police told her that her boyfriend was actually a murderer who had been using a fake name. She had been planning to introduce John to her parents the following weekend. "He seemed so normal," Jennifer told Detective Martinez. "He was kind and generous and seemed to really care about me. I can't believe I was dating someone who killed another woman." Detective Martinez explained to Jennifer that she had been very close to becoming Jackson's next victim. The notebook found in Jackson's car contained detailed information about Jennifer's daily routine, her work schedule, and her bank account information. "He was studying you the same way he studied Emma," Detective Martinez said. "You're lucky. We caught him before he could hurt you." When Jackson was brought back to Denver for trial, the evidence against him was overwhelming. DNA evidence from under Emma's fingernails matched Jackson's blood type. His fingerprints were on the lamp that had been used to kill Emma. Bank records showed that he had stolen money from Emma's account. Most importantly, Emma's laptop contained emails and documents that proved she had discovered Jackson's real identity and was trying to get away from him. The timeline showed that Emma was killed the same night she learned the truth about Jackson's criminal history. The defendant murdered Emma Rodriguez because she discovered that he was a fraud and a criminal, Prosecutor Lisa Washington told the jury during opening statements. He killed her to keep his secret safe and to prevent her from warning his next victims. Jackson's defense lawyer tried to argue that Emma's death was an accident that happened during an argument, but the medical examiner's testimony proved that Emma had been beaten repeatedly with the heavy lamp. Her injuries were too severe to have been caused by a single blow during a struggle. This was not an accident, Dr. William Foster testified. The victim was struck at least 6 times with tremendous force. This was a deliberate and brutal attack. The most powerful testimony came from Jackson's previous victims. Rachel Green flew in from Phoenix to tell the jury about how Jackson had threatened to kill her when she discovered his real identity. "He told me that if I ever tried to expose him, I would end up dead and no one would ever find my body," Rachel said through tears. "When I see what happened to Emma, I know that he meant every word." Maria Santos testified about how Jackson had stolen her life savings and destroyed her credit by opening accounts in her name. She explained how Jackson had isolated her from her friends and family, just like he had done to Emma. "He made me feel like I was crazy," Maria said. "He convinced me that my friends and family were trying to break us up because they were jealous. By the time I realized what he was doing, I had no one left to help me." Tom Bradley, the private investigator, testified about Jackson's pattern of targeting women who worked in caring professions like nursing and teaching. He explained how Jackson would study his victims on social media for weeks before making contact. He's a predator who hunts vulnerable women, Tom testified. He creates fake identities, specifically designed to appeal to each victim. Emma was just the latest in a long line of women he has hurt. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Jackson's lawyer called no witnesses in his defense, and Jackson himself never testified. The jury deliberated for only 4 hours before returning a verdict of guilty on charges of first-degree murder, fraud, and identity theft. Judge Patricia Williams sentenced Jackson Mitchell to life in prison without the possibility of parole. During the sentencing hearing, Emma's family was allowed to speak about how her death had affected them. Emma was a kind and caring person who dedicated her life to helping others, said Emma's father, Robert Rodriguez. She trusted this man and tried to love him, and he repaid that trust by taking her life. No sentence can bring Emma back, but at least this monster can never hurt another woman. Emma's mother, Carmen Rodriguez, spoke about the daughter they had lost. Emma always saw the good in people. She believed that everyone deserved love and kindness. That beautiful quality is what made her vulnerable to this predator. After the sentencing, Detective Martinez reflected on the case that had consumed 8 months of her life. She was satisfied that justice had been served, but she knew that Emma's death could have been prevented if Jackson had been caught sooner. This case shows how dangerous these predators can be, Detective Martinez said. Jackson Mitchell was a professional criminal who knew exactly how to manipulate and control his victims. Emma tried to escape, but she ran out of time. The Emma Rodriguez case led to changes in how domestic violence and stalking cases are handled in Denver. Police now receive better training on recognizing the warning signs of predatory behavior in relationships. Emma's family established the Emma Rodriguez Foundation to help other victims of domestic violence and dating abuse. The foundation provides free background checks for women who are concerned about new romantic partners. "We want Emma's death to mean something," said her brother David Rodriguez. "If we can save even one woman from going through what Emma experienced, then maybe some good can come from this terrible tragedy." Mrs. Patricia Johnson, Emma's neighbor, became an advocate for domestic violence awareness in her community. She speaks to groups about the importance of trusting your instincts when something feels wrong. "I heard Emma being killed and I did nothing," Mrs. Johnson says during her presentations. "I told myself it was none of my business. Now I know that when someone is in danger, it's everyone's business to help." Lisa Thompson, Emma's best friend, says that she will never stop missing Emma and wishing that she had done more to help her. "When the warning signs first appeared, Emma was trying to tell me that something was wrong, but I didn't push hard enough to get her to open up," Lisa says. "I wish I had been more persistent. I wish I had made her feel safe enough to tell me the truth about what was happening." The investigation also revealed that Jackson Mitchell had probably been active as a predator for much longer than anyone realized. Police in several states reopened cold cases involving women who had been murdered by boyfriends with fake identities. "We think Jackson may have killed other women before Emma," Detective Martinez said. "There are cases going back 10 years that have similarities to Emma's murder. Jackson Mitchell remains in prison, where he will spend the rest of his life. He has never expressed remorse for killing Emma or for the pain he caused to all of his victims and their families." Emma Rodriguez was 26 years old when she died. She had dedicated her life to caring for others as a nurse, and she was loved by everyone who knew her. Her death serves as a reminder that domestic violence can happen to anyone, and that predators like Jackson Mitchell are skilled at hiding their true nature until it is too late. The people who loved Emma say that they hope her story will help other women recognize the warning signs of abusive relationships and give them the courage to seek help before it is too late.